Welcome to Style for Life. I'm Stephanie Rumble, fashion stylist, accountability coach, and your guide to feeling good in your body and your clothes. Based in Christchurch, New Zealand, I bring over 3 decades of experience in fashion, fitness, and wellness to help you feel strong, stylish, and self-assured. Together, we'll explore the emotional, physical, and practical sides of style because true confidence starts from within. No matter your age or size, you deserve to feel confident and show up as the best version of you. I truly believe this. This is Style for Life. Good morning, everybody, and welcome back to the podcast, Style for Life. It's really good to be here, and yeah, I'm excited. I love doing my podcast, and I am so amazingly grateful to all of you. I say this every week. I know. I repeat myself, but I am really grateful to all of you for listening every single week and making it grow. Oh my goodness, it just blows my mind. And I do have some guests lined up for the next few weeks because I'm going to be traveling a bit and I want to be ahead of the game. So that will be exciting. But today I've been thinking really hard about what I talk about, and there's something that's really dear to my heart, and it's around clothing again. Today, I'm going to talk about whether the fiber content of your clothing, natural versus man-made, makes any difference. So for those of you who don't really know what I'm talking about, the clothing that we wear is made of certain fibers, and those fibers have a big impact on the way the clothing feels on the body, the way it drapes on the body, the cost of the clothing, and a whole lot of other factors around how it performs, looks, feels, etc. So I just thought it might be useful today to unpack that a little bit, because for some people, they don't really know what they're looking for, and they're not really sure whether it's a big deal or not, whether it's something they need to think about, or whether it's something that actually doesn't really matter to them. So for me, the reason that I'm really passionate about this is because I studied clothing and textiles. So I studied it. I studied all of the ways clothing were made. And I also understand how the fibers perform. And I'm very tactile. So how a fiber feels next to my skin is really important to me. Another thing I think that if I go even further in my own history is thinking about how I was raised. So I was raised on a farm. For those of you who don't know, the farm was in Pleasant Point, which is a small township inland from Timaru, which is in the south of the South Island of New Zealand. And it was a farming community. My father was a farmer, my mother was a farmer's wife, and we were very much about natural fibers. And it's probably because we farmed animals, and the fibers that came from the animals and the skins and all of those things are things that we really valued in our value system and in our world. And I've grown into that as I've gone through my life. My mother was also quite a natural fiber person, so I think I just picked that up from her. And just remembering too, because of my age, I was born and raised in an era where there wasn't a lot of synthetic fabric. A lot of the fabric was natural fabrics. So I think we should talk a little bit about, first of all, about what is a synthetic fabric or a man-made fiber. Well, let's use the word fiber, because the fiber makes up the fabric. Now, a fabric can be a combination of different fibers. I don't want to make it too confusing here, but I want to first of all unpack the fiber, because it's fiber content that I think is what I'm talking about today. What is your product made from, and how does that impact its longevity, its performance, its use, the way it feels, and how you perceive it, right? So both natural and man-made fibers have strengths and weaknesses. And again, like I've said, it just depends on what you want from the clothing. Do you want comfort, durability? Do you want to think about the cost, the performance, or also really importantly is the environmental impact? So I have this interesting discussion with some really good friends of mine who are vegan about not wanting to wear animal fibers. And then I'm like, well, what's the impact on the environment of the synthetic fibers that you're using? So we'll go through each of them. We'll talk about the pros and the cons, and we'll go from there and see how we go. So natural fibers, examples of natural fibers are things like cotton, wool, linen, silk, and hemp. So some of these are plant-based And obviously some of them are animal based. Now, if you want to add in there, we can also add leather into that too, because we do wear leather as a fabric. It's not a fiber because it can't be combined easily with another fiber. Whereas fibers like cotton, wool, silk, linen, hemp can be combined together or combined with synthetic fibers. So if we look at, first of all, natural fibers, what are the pros of, we'll go through the pros and the cons of both, right? So I did a bit of research and put some info together, and this is what I've come up with. So personally, I am a very big fan of natural fibers. I feel like they are what I'm really drawn to. I really like them. I feel really good in them. I like the feel of them. I'm wearing this cardigan from Ruby, and it is a mohair wool blend, and it does have some synthetic as well, which helps the performance. So it's got a whole lot of fibers blended together, but primarily it's a natural fiber, and that makes me feel happy. And it also makes me feel comfortable as well. It's not just about happiness, but I actually really like the fact that it is natural. That sits well with me from an ethical perspective. And it's the same with all clothing fibers. I very much am about the natural fibers. So yeah, the other fibers we can add, so cotton, wool, linen, silk, hemp, we could add cashmere, mohair, some of those other fibers that come from animals that are used in knitwear. There's a whole lot of them as well. Alpaca, I'm knitting a sweater at the moment, there's alpaca yarn in it, which is really lovely. So again, animals aren't harmed in the process of removing their fur. Obviously they are with the skin, but so with their fur, I feel very comfortable with that. Or their wool, or whatever it is. So first of all, first pro of natural fibers is they're comfortable and breathable. They often feel cooler and more pleasant against the skin. Obviously, we're talking more about silk, linen, cotton here, hemp probably a little heavier. Those fibers feel more comfortable against the skin and more breathable. They absorb moisture really well. So cotton and wool can absorb sweat, so can linen, and help with comfort as well when you're in a hot environment. You don't have that synthetic business going on. They can actually cling a little bit too. The thing I really like about these two, and this happens, is most natural fibers break down more readily, so they're biodegradable at the end of their life, so they don't stay in the earth as part of the cycle of the earth. So that really appeals to me. So if you were to bury a cotton t-shirt and a synthetic t-shirt, I don't know, 20 years later, the synthetic t-shirt's probably still there. The cotton t-shirt might be fragments of. They have less static electricity, so they don't cling as much to synthetic fibers. So if you're looking at, say, a synthetic shirt versus a silk shirt, the synthetic shirt might get static electricity and cling, whereas the silk shirt's less likely to do that. They're also really good at helping you regulate temperature. So wool's particularly good at keeping you warm when it's cold and comfortable when it's mild, specifically merino, which is a fine gauge wool fiber. So they can be really good at that. Now, what are the cons, obviously, of a natural fiber? So I'll go through the pros and cons of both, and then we'll go from there. So obviously they can wrinkle easily, particularly linen and cotton, sometimes silk as well, depending on the type of silk that it is. I'm very partial to it. They might shrink when washed incorrectly. So you have to be more mindful with natural fibers about how you wash them. I'm very particular about washing my natural fibers. I use the washing machine. I'm very uninterested in hand washing. Very uninterested. And so I use a gentle cold cycle. It's really important to use cold water when you're washing these things, because the hot water disrupts the fiber and can shrink them. Definitely no good with warm water. And sometimes some fibers need hand washing because the process of agitation shrinks and mats the fibers together, particularly with a knitwear fiber or something that's a wool fiber or something that's got mohair or cashmere. It often needs a very, very careful wash, right? Hand wash. So I wouldn't put those in the washing machine, but all silk goes in the washing machine, and some of my wool, depending on what it is. Sometimes your natural fibers are less durable than synthetics. They can wear out, and they are more expensive, like wool and silk. So it just depends on what you want out of your garment. Like if you have less clothes and you want them to last a really long time, you might find the wool and silk doesn't last as long. Although I find my woolen things do wear out. I have really great merino thermals. I love them. They feel great. I really still stand by them. I buy them from Icebreaker, but they do wear out. They do get holes in them, they wear out. I wear them, I sweeten them, I wear them running and they get worn out, which is great. I feel like I'm getting my money's worth. And I wear all winter, I wear a base layer woolen singlet from Icebreaker. You can get them from lots of places, and they do wear out. They get holes in them, which is again a good sign. I've been using them. But again, if you want something that lasts longer and you're happy with synthetic, then you might feel better. Resource use. So some natural fibres require large amounts of water, land, pesticides, etc. during production, so that can be an issue. Now, when I was a child, which was a long time ago, I remember synthetic fibres were invented. And then I remember while I was studying clothing and textiles at university, I learned about how they were made, and I can remember seeing pictures of them being extruded, which means that the fibres are made from synthetic fabric or fibre, like plastic essentially, and they are made very long and fine and then woven into fabric. So the kind of examples, basic examples, there's more than this is the starting point, are polyester, nylon, acrylic, rayon, and elastane. So they're all used for slightly different things. Like acrylic is commonly used in knitwear. It's a heavier fibre, so it's generally used in knitwear. Things like polyester are used, and that can be used in the fine chiffon kind of feel of fabric, so that finer, lightweight fibre. Nylon can be used in all sorts of different things. More commonly, polyester and acrylic are used. We also see a lot of rayon being used. Rayon has a nice handle. It has a similar feel to cotton and silk combined, so it's a good handle. And then elastane or spandex, which is used a lot, and all sorts of fibres. We combine elastane with cotton to make jeans stretchy. So you'll see that whole stretchy jean thing, denim thing, which is great. So what are the pros of synthetic fibres? They're strong and durable. They resist wear and tear well. So pretty much all of our sports gear is made from synthetic fibres. Actually, going back to natural fibres, I forgot about bamboo, which I'll come to in a bit because there's some things around that. So just going back, sorry, I got diverted there. So talking about man-made fibres, pros are strong and durable. They resist wear and tear well. So they really stand up to things. Like I said, sports clothing very much sits in the natural fibre category. They are wrinkle resistant, so they maintain their shape easily, so they are less likely to shrink or distort, although, again, being washed incorrectly, that can happen. They're very quick drying, so they're excellent for sportswear and outdoor clothing. So if you have outdoor clothing and sportswear, very good options for using a synthetic fibre. If we look also at some other pros for synthetics, they're usually cheaper to produce and buy, so there's a lot more available. They can be engineered for specific performance like stretch, water resistance, insulation, UV protection, so there's definitely a place for them in our outdoor performance wear as well, very much so. Some cons. Okay, so again, there's so many pros for synthetic fibres, and they've really revolutionised our offering in the world. They can be less breathable, so they can feel hot and clammy. I recall finishing the Gold Coast Half Marathon a few years ago and being handed a free t-shirt, and I was very stoked. And it was a sports t-shirt, and it was really horrible plasticky feeling quality. When I wear it, I don't feel like it's doing a good job on my skin. However, I do have many synthetic running tops that are totally different. So again, depends on how they're produced. So it can feel hot and clammy. They may retain odours. So you find that a synthetic fibre, when it heats, it melts slightly, and then the smell can become embedded in the fibre, and then the fibre resets in the cold, and the smell's inside it. Whereas with a natural fibre, the fibres bend and morph, and they can smell initially, but when they're washed, the fibres release, and the smell can come out. So interesting, if you are someone who sweats a lot, I know you can see the sweat more in a natural fibre, but you're less likely to find that it holds the smell. So it's just a way up there. Obviously, synthetic fibres generate static electricity. So if you have a synthetic top or shirt and you don't want it to cling, it can cling in all the wrong places because it's got static electricity. Oh, look. Environmental concerns, many are made from fossil fuels. So again, what's the basis of plastic? It's generally oil. Where does that come from? Is there a concern with that? Potentially there is. Yeah. And this is the one that really I don't like. the microplastic shedding. So washing synthetic garments can release tiny plastic fibres into waterways and onto your skin. You know, the whole microplastic thing's really scary. So what are we actually doing? What are we exposing our bodies to? Are we designed as humans to have microplastics stuck all over us? No. And what's the impact of that in our long-term health? I really am interested in trying to avoid that myself. And it's about what we eat and what we cook with and what we store our food in. There's a whole lot of stuff. And I know that I'm not perfect by any stretch, but microplastic shedding is an issue with synthetic fibres as well. So which is better? Well, look, it just depends what you want. So if you want everyday comfort, cotton, linen, wool, I love all of them. I love the crispness. I love the feeling of them. There's something about being closer to nature for me that really works. If you want sportswear and active, I don't wear anything that's not synthetic for sports gear. All of my sports gear is synthetic. So polyester blends, nylon, elastane, except for my merino thermals in the winter, they are made from wool. Everything else is made from synthetic. So sportswear and active, I like the synthetics. Warm winter clothing, wool or wool blends. Like, the reason that wool works better is because of the fibre of wool. If you think of wool being a shaft and it has little pieces that, little, how do I describe? It has little pockets either side of the fibre. So the fibre is not just a straight, long, single extrusion. It is something that if you pushed backwards on the fibre, you'd pull the fibres backwards and they'd stand up. That's what makes wool work, because of the fibres, when they're disrupted, they move and they trap warmth between the layers. So that is just so much better for warm winter clothing. All of the natural fibres do that. And if you, so alpaca, mohair, they all perform in a similar way. If you look at something like acrylic, it's just a long single fibre. So what happens is the heat just gets trapped between the fibres, not within the fibre, which can make you feel warm and clammy. So again, it's about thinking about how you want that to be. So warm winter clothing, wool or wool blends are warmer, but more durable are polyester, nylon. They are more durable. They last a longer time. So synthetic jersey will last a longer time than a woolen jersey or sweater. Easy care clothing, so something that is easy to care for, easy to iron, easy to wash. Polyester blends. So that's they're going to wash just like out of the washing machine. They're dry like sometimes within half an hour on a cold day. Whereas your thick cotton sweatshirt can take a day to dry because of the way the fibres work. Reduce plastic use. And this honestly is very high on my list of priorities, very high on my list of whether I choose something. Reduce plastic use is natural fibres. Quick drying. Synthetic fibres. So synthetic fibres dry really well. Have you ever wondered how you can be a fashion stylist with access to premium digital styling products? Do you want to be trained by the best in the industry and access these products that reflect fashion styling in 2025? If you do, then Image Innovators is absolutely the choice for you. This is because they have a network of over 1,000 trained fashion stylists worldwide, and you know when you work with them, you're getting the best of the best. They have evidence-based professional training offered by highly skilled facilitators that help you reach your absolute potential. This is a great alignment with Style for Life, as I in my business have used and endorsed their products for over 10 years with so many happy clients. And I'm really excited to say I'm also offering training to fashion stylists in conjunction with Image Innovators. So if you're ready to start your fashion styling training journey, then use the code BRIGHTRED25 for 10% off all products. So yeah, I mean, I think for a practical compromise, there's some really good blends. So we talked now about what natural fibres are and what synthetic fibres are. So many garments nowadays are a blend of different fibres, so such as cotton, polyester. So you'll find you go to buy a cotton shirt or a skirt or some type of fabric, and you find it's a blend of cotton and polyester, or wool and nylon, like I said. And what they do is they combine the comfort of the natural fibre and the performance of the natural fibre with the durability and easy care of the synthetic. For example, let's look at cotton and polyester. It's softer and feels nicer than pure polyester, but it's more durable than pure cotton, which is actually really great. So it feels nicer next to the skin. A wool and nylon is warmer and more long lasting than pure wool socks, so they'll last a longer time. So you get more performance out of them. So that's a really good thing. So I think the thing is most people want to have clothes that have a mixture of both natural and man-made fibres for different purposes to get a balance of comfort, performance, cost, environmental impact, etc. So what I'm going to do now is I'm just going to talk about another couple of fibres which I think we see a lot of, and we can be fooled into thinking that they are actually natural fibres, and they're not. Well, they kind of are, but they're not. So one is viscose. Sometimes called Viscose Rayon. It's a semi-synthetic fibre. It's made from cellulose. Now, this comes from wood pulp, and it comes from trees such as eucalyptus, beech, pine trees, and bamboo when marketed as bamboo viscose. And what happens to make this wood pulp into fibre, it's purified into a cellulose pulp, so this is the wood, and then it's dissolved using chemicals, traditionally sodium hydroxide and carbon disulfide. And so that cellulose is dissolved, and the liquid is forced through holes to form fibres. So it's kind of very processed, and they're generated into a fabric that can be spun, woven, or knitted. Look, it's really chemical, and viscose is described as a regenerated cellulose fibre or semi-synthetic fibre rather than natural or purely synthetic fibre. And there's a lot of viscose being used, and it's touted as a natural fibre. And I don't know, I'm not that sold because it doesn't perform well, in my opinion. Let's look at some advantages and disadvantages so you understand. It feels soft, it feels smooth, it's often similar to silk. It's breathable and comfortable in warm weather, so that natural fibre quality comes through. It does absorb moisture well. It drapes really nicely, so it looks nice on a dress and a blouse, so you have all of that. The biggest disadvantage for me, well, there's quite a few, but the biggest one is that it shrinks really easily. And you've got to be so careful about how you wash it. Even more careful than silk. And silk has got this bad rap for being really hard to care for. It also wrinkles really easily, and it can weaken when it's wet, which is really not good. And the production can have really bad sort of or very significant environmental impacts if the chemicals are not recovered and reused. And you're really never going to know that. So I think, yeah, I don't know. There's a few other regenerated fabrics or other fibres that actually, we'll use the word fibre, viscose and other regenerated fibres that sit in the same place, and that's modal. So you often hear of that. It's softer and stronger than standard viscose. Lysol, it's sold under the brand name of Tencel, and it's often more environmentally friendly. It's a more closed loop process. And Rayon, it's a broader category that includes viscose. So as often as, although it starts life as wood, by the time it becomes a fabric, it's been transformed into a manufactured fibre with properties between natural fibres like cotton and polyester. Yeah, I don't know. It just depends what your vibe is and what you want. So I suppose one of the things I want to caution you on here is when you're shopping, be really careful about the fibre content of the garment you're choosing. If a garment is really expensive and it's made from polyester, then I would think twice about whether you buy it or not. The reason being that it's much cheaper to produce a polyester garment than it is to produce a man-made or natural fibre garment. And why would you pay more for a garment that is not a natural fibre? Like, I'm talking premium prices. Some of our beautiful brands sell gorgeous fabrics, which are much easier to make in synthetic and cheaper for them to make and look lovely, but don't feel great and don't perform as well as a natural fibre. So if you think of a silk blouse versus a synthetic blouse, they both have the same print on them, they fit the same way, but the synthetic or polyester blouse will cling more, it'll feel more clammy on. The silk blouse will feel much nicer on, feel much closer to the skin in terms of its natural feel, but it will be harder to care for. So you have to make sure that you wash it in cold water. So, and you just hang it to dry rather than tumble dry it, whereas the polyester garment can be washed in anything and tumble dried and it will perform. So it's really about where your values sit and what's right for you. But I just caution you, if you are buying that synthetic garment, check that you really feel like it's got value, especially because it is much cheaper for the manufacturer to produce when it is that synthetic fibre. Okay, now let's have a little think here about how can you tell what the fibre content is. Now, some of you will know this because you've looked at the care label sold into the garment. And most countries are actually are required to list the care or the composition of the garment, remembering they could be 100% one fibre or a mix of others. Actually, before we get into it, the fibres that I'm particularly drawn to has to be silk. Silk is my number one fibre. I absolutely love it. It feels great. I'm drawn to silk garments, especially when they're good quality. When I go overseas, I often go to the silk markets and get things made. And my silk clothes are very durable and last a long time, and I wear them everywhere. There's a brand in New Zealand, or an Australian brand I'm really drawn to, called Silk Laundry, and they are very expensive, but they do have sales. I usually monopolise the sale. As soon as it comes out, I'm like, yes, let's buy some things. So yeah, they're a brand I really enjoy, and they have a very long life with their garments. They keep them in there offering for a really long time until they sell through, which I really appreciate. So that's something I'm very partial to. I do like cotton clothes as well. I like things that are made from a really nice cotton fibre. I will also buy things that are a mix. I have bought some viscose garments. I know some of our lovely New Zealand designers do like using viscose, and I do buy it, but I'm just very wary of how I wash it, because if I forget and David puts it in the wash, it's small. So I've got to be careful. So let's look at how you would figure out what the fibre content is. So you would look at the care label. You would look to see what the percentage of fibres are. It could be 100% cotton. It could be 80% cotton, 20% polyester, 100% wool, 95% viscose, 5% elastane. So the percentages tell you how much of each fibre is present by weight. Yeah? What if the label is missing and you don't know what it is? How can you tell? So there's a few things about the feel of a garment that can help you work out exactly what it is. So fibres, the common feel and appearance of cotton is soft, breathable with a matte finish. Linen has a cool, crisp, slightly textured, and it really wrinkles easily. Wool, warm, springy, sometimes fuzzy. Silk, soft, smooth, lightweight. It can have a soft sheen to it. Polyester, smooth, often slightly slippery, resists wrinkles. Nylon, strong, smooth, and lightweight. Viscose, soft, fluid drape, cool to the touch. Elastane or spandex is noticeably stretchy and recovers well. So sometimes it's really hard to tell. I have to check the fibre contents. I'll sometimes say to a client, oh, this is a silk garment, and I'll go, no, it's not, it's viscose. So just think about why it matters. So how do they feel on the skin? Is it more comfortable? Is it more breathable? Does it feel warmer? Is it easier to wash? Is it easier to dry? All of those things we've talked about. So all of those things are really important as well. And just remembering, is the environmental impact something that you need to think about? Now, a couple of rules of thumb. What do things tend to be made of, just to help guide you here? T-shirts, 100% cotton, soft and breathable. Cotton polyester blend, it's more durable and wrinkle resistant, and you'll have polyester in sportswear. Jumpers and knitwear, wool or merino is warm and breathable. Acrylic is easier to care for and cheaper, but it can pill more easily and feels less breathable. Right? Dresses and blouses, viscose, silk, cotton, linen, or blends are common. Polyester may be easier care. It can feel warmer, a bit slipperier. Like I said, a wee bit more plasticky. Socks, often a blends best. Pure cotton or cotton wears out faster than wool or nylon. Cotton, nylon blends. And if you want to judge quality, fibre content is one clue, but not the whole story. Yeah, so a polyester garment can outperform a poorly made cotton one. So look at the fibre content, the fibre weight and feel, the stitching quality. So how is it constructed? How are the seams finished? Is there threads hanging off? Is it nicely finished on the inside? Does it hold its shape after washing? So it's not just about the fibre content in terms of the quality. As a general rule, if comfort and breathability are your priorities, you'll be happier with garments containing a high proportion of cotton, linen, wool, high quality regenerated fibres like modal or Lysol. If durability, stretch and easy care are important, you're going to find polyester, nylon, or elastane to be very practical and the fibres you want. So I am literally giving you information so that you can choose what works for you, for your lifestyle, your values, and what feels good on your body, because that's what's really important here. And also, it can be about your budget. So I would say when you are searching for garments, if you're searching, say, for a winter coat, look and see if there's some wool in it, because it's actually going to perform better, it's going to feel better, and it'll be a better quality garment if it's a wool blend. And even some of our more affordable retailers do offer garments that have a wool blend in them. And I would say if you find one that's at your price point, snap it up because it's a good option. Again, 100% wool is probably a better option. But again, if that's not in your price point, I totally get it. If you're looking for something in the summer that you want that's going to feel really great next to your skin, give silk a try if it's in your budget. It feels amazing. Just make sure that you wash it in cold water. You don't have to dry clean it or you hand wash it if you want to. I can't be bothered. So just again, if you're into performance, you want something that's going to be so easy to wash, you don't have to think about it, and the microplastic environmental impact is not such a big deal for you, then you'll be more likely to choose a synthetic fibre or a man-made fibre. So I hope that's helpful. I just had this epiphany last night about talking about this, and I look forward next week to having some guests on the show and some other great topics. Please do let me know what you would like me to talk about, what is coming up for you, what you're thinking about, what's going to be useful for you. I am here to help you and serve you. I produce this podcast so that I can be a public service to you, so people who don't necessarily want to come and see me have the option to listen and learn about style, and I consider it part of my voluntary giving to the world. So I just want to make sure that I'm delivering what you want and how you want it. So kia kaha, everybody. I really appreciate you listening to the podcast again today. You can find me on socials, Instagram, TikTok, Facebook, and LinkedIn. And I really appreciate each and every one of you for taking 30 minutes out of your day to listen to this podcast and support Style for Life. Thank you for listening to the Style for Life podcast. Don't forget, you deserve to feel fabulous at every age, every stage, and at every size. If you're loving the show, hit subscribe and leave a review. It helps more amazing people like you find their way back to life through style. Thanks again. Until next time.